Got it?
I think so. Let me see.
Good morning, everybody.
Oh,
You got it?
it's just connecting right now.
Oh, okay.
Waiting. Do, 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 do.
What's the delay, you know?
It looks like it's going to a different one. I'm just quickly figuring out why. It's heading over to this one instead.
Do you want me to stop?
It's not like
Just stop and start?
yes, live. Where to cut it?
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our Zoom room. For some reason, it's launching a previous lesson. Getting rid of the feeling of not feeling good enough 3 weeks ago.
All right. Okay, and we're ready to go. Okay, we're okay. I'm just updating the broadcast page right now. In a few seconds. Just give me a second. Give me like, I'll tell you when. Update. Okay. It's just publishing.
Is it going to go live right away?
Yep.
Okay, just tell me when.
Okay. You ready to go?
Ready to go?
Yep.
All right. We are live. We are just waiting for people to get in the waiting room here, and we will let people in. If you're watching from Doug Dane TV, dougdane.com/TV, just give us a second. We're going to start once we get everybody into the Zoom room here. And I think you're going to enjoy today's presentation. All right. Give me 1 second. Good morning, everybody. We're just filling up the Zoom room here. We are live on my website. If you're watching there, if you're coming into Zoom, welcome into the Zoom meeting. And if you're watching live on the website and you want to come into the Zoom room, there is a link just below the video player window there. You can click on that, and that'll bring you right into the Zoom room, and we'll welcome you in. So if you want to come in and join us, we also have a little bit of Q&A time, a little conversation after today's session, and you're welcome to come in at that point and discuss things we've been talking about. Second, let me mute everybody here.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. So I've got all you muted. My apologies there, folks. Yeah, if you're watching the broadcast and you want to come in the Zoom room for the Q&A, then by all means join us. I'll cue you when that's going to start, and you can come in at that point or join us now. So I want to welcome you to Self-Help Made Better. Today's class is called The Art of Letting Go, a formula for personal freedom and 5 mindset rules to avoid you getting stuck. So thanks for joining us. And as always, I love coming on here and trying to do my best to share with you what's worked for me in my life in terms of personal and professional career success, health success, relationship success. I'm a pretty successful guy. I'm in a good mood today too, so just have to bear with me. So it's good to see everybody who's here. Paul's here, Stephanie. Stephanie, I just got home from New York. I got my little thing. I will follow instructions to the letter. Yes, ma'am. And I will pay you. Don't worry, I got your message too. You will get paid. Okay. Who's else? Samaya's here. Linda's here. Mr. Thatcher, you're right in the middle of my Zoom screen, right dead center. Good to see you, my friend. Paul's here. Ian, my friend. Corey, Sylvain. And then a bunch of people with black things over their face with white letters, their names. Heather, Blazenka, Vicky. I'm going to call you out. John, Mishu, I don't know how you say that. Ruby, you're right in the middle here. You're right below Dave. It's like Hollywood Squares. All right. Well, let's begin, okay? First off, Karen, you're there too. Good morning. You're right above Dave. I got Karen, Dave, Ruby, Lucy, dead center for me. So if I'm looking, at my camera, which is normally what I'm trying to do, is to speak to you through the camera here, a little green light. I'm looking right at you, Karen, Dave, and Ruby. So just real quick, I do these classes because I think the whole personal development world, the self-help world, is in a real mess. I've been in it for about 10 years. I've been involved in my own personal development growth for ever since I got into business and went bankrupt and failed. My first book was called Think and Grow Rich. And ever since then, I was trying to figure out how to get ahead and be successful. I did figure out at least financial material success. That happened fairly quickly after failing miserably. And but I went through life, many of you know me. If you don't, I'm not going to bore you today with the story, but I had a difficult time, and I definitely struggled a lot. Even though I was enjoying material success, wasn't feeling that great. Health wise, wasn't feeling that great. Didn't feel good about myself. Didn't feel good in relationships with people. Didn't feel comfortable in group settings, although I had to be in group settings. Now, you wouldn't have known it because I got to become a pretty good actor. Anyway, it was the last 10 years I got the opportunity to work very closely with, one of the leaders in the world on mindset. That was Bob Proctor. And I learned a lot, got a lot of gifts from that relationship and working with him. And I ran his coaching division for almost 10 years. And coming out of that, and then, coming back to really working with people again, I was coaching a lot of people all around the world. Like literally, I had a couple thousand people at the time that we were working with, and I work with a lot of people. I was on a lot of calls every day, talking to a lot of people, one-on-one or in group settings like this, where people were asking questions. And man, oh man, I was frustrated. I was frustrated because I'm going, what the hell is going on here? People are asking for advice. I'm giving them advice on what they need to do, but things weren't happening. And so I really, I was pursuing the answer to that. And what I found, because I'm scratching my head because I used to be way too logical, I used to overthink a lot and made things really, really complicated. And then I started to see things really, really clearly and really quite simply. And I'm going, like, it's right here. Can't you see this? And what I found out was, here's the hard part. And with today's lesson, the art of letting go, some of you are going to find this hard. Some of you are actually going to make this hard. And I found that actually all of this is very, very quite simple. The challenge, the problem you have is that it goes against your logic. It goes against your intellect. It goes against what you were taught, and it goes against what you believe. Now, I've lined up enough people since my book came out, Mistaken Identity, about a year ago. I've lined up enough people that have gone through this book with me and are using it to, get ahead, pursue goals, make themselves feel better. I've got enough evidence now that people go, yeah, Doug, you were right. It's simple. I've been making it way too hard. So why am I saying that to you? Well, because I'm trying to set up today's lesson because I do need you to open up your mind a little bit. And some of the things I'm going to share with you, there's nothing, I'm looking at my notes here. I got 2 pages of notes. There's nothing magical on here. Okay. There really isn't. And I was thinking last night, none of the things I'm going to talk about are mine. But I'm going to give you my spin on it, my 2 cents on it, my version of just some universal truths. I put a post up last night. I was doesn't matter what motivated me to do it. I won't waste our time on that. But I put a post up about women. Women should be leaders and men should follow. And it's interesting to see what's going to come out of that. I just made my mind up. Our world needs people to be more direct and speak up and say some of the tough things. So I'm going to share some stuff with you today. It's really quite simple. You'll just give me the chance, and I've tried to find a way to explain this stuff. I remember Bob always saying, whenever you're talking to people on camera, Doug, don't treat them like a 10-year-old, but pretend you're talking to a 10-year-old, meaning make it really, really simple. Okay. So I presume you're here because you would like to let go of some shit. Yeah. Anybody here like to let go of some shit? Yeah. Anybody holding on? Okay. So the people are off camera. You can wave. Everybody else wave because the truth is you're holding on to shit you shouldn't be holding on to. Wave, everybody. Come on, everybody. Tell the truth. Come on. Thank you. Thank you. All right. That's better. I just want to make sure I have some honest people on the call because if you're not honest, then there's no point in me talking to you. Okay. All right. So listen, Tyson, did you just put me on highlight? Oh, you did. I'm looking right at myself. Can I hide that? I think I can. Can I hide my view, Tyson? Hide self view. No, I can't. All right. I'm just going to, damn, I got my big iMac here. 30 inches of Doug Dane. Damn, I look good too. Finally let go of worrying about how I look, but I look really good. Good morning. All right. The reason people struggle to get ahead and keep making the same mistakes over and over is because they can't let go of trying to control things, and they stay stuck because they worry about the future. They look back on the past. So the biggest struggle that people are facing is this idea is they just can't seem to let go or give up the reins or control. You think you're in control, and you're not. Now you can control certain things, okay, but you are not ultimately in control. Okay, you're in the driver's seat. You are the captain of the helm. All right, you can choose your port of call, but ultimately, if we use the example of a captain, steering a ship to a port of call, whatever the goal is, the destination is. The truth is the captain has no control other than control over the ship, and he is able to navigate the waters because he's got, or she's got, we better say he or she or they have charts, but you can't control the weather. You can't control the sea, and a captain would be a great example. A captain of a ship would be a great example of really having faith and trust in a process. And you need to have faith and trust in a process. You need to have faith and trust in yourself. And you also need to have faith and trust in how your mind operates. So in my book, I attacked 3 things. 3 things I wanted to attack. Number one is, everybody has this mistaken identity, okay, to some degree or another, some more severe than others. The severe ones are the people that are really struggling in their life with, whether it's their health, their career, in relationships like I was, whatever their struggles are, it's because of how they were treated or an experience they went through as a kid. Okay, what they're called adverse childhood experiences, right? And so that causes a real problem, and people have this mistaken identity. The rest of the population, the other 40%, are struggling too, because you were brought up to follow rules and values and certain things. You were expected to conform, and if you didn't, you got in trouble, and you got criticized or judged or teased or whatever. And you developed a pretty strong fear of worrying about what people think, and that impacts your career. You might not make some moves because you're afraid to fail and what people will think. You might be staying in relationships. Could be a business partnership, could be a friendship, could be a marital or a love relationship, and you're staying in that. You're standing by that deal that you made because you're worried what people are going to think if you walk away from those kinds of things. And so, number one is we've got to clear up our mistaken identity. We got to get clear on who we really are, and then we got to be that person. We got to be ourselves. We got to stop trying to be somebody we're not, and that causes a lot of stress, a lot of striving, a lot of straining, and a lot of struggling. So that's part of the thing. That's one part you have to let go of. Is you got to let go of this false version of yourself. It's causing you a lot of stress. It's causing you to make a lot of mistakes. The second thing that I want to cover in my book that I learned that I did not know, we're going to talk a lot about this, I talk about all the time, is that we have this gift. It's called our mind. It operates a certain way. People talk a lot about mindset. Very few people actually understand how the mind actually works. You can't just walk around with a positive mindset. That's not how it works. You will have a positive mindset if you operate, excuse me, if you operate your mind properly. And then the third thing, and really the most important thing, is we just have to be ourselves. That's really what we have to do. And so we have to learn, unlearn, and relearn some certain things. And we were talking yesterday. I just was concluding the last day of our 45 days to an upgraded life. So it starts with 45 days. We just finished the last chapter of the book, which is called the postlude. It's called Check Out Your View. And we have a small group of people. We cap it around 20 people or so. And we were going through that. We've been working every day together, 5 days a week for 6 weeks in a row, one chapter at a time through the book. And just kind of in the wrap up of the chapter, I give three simple rules you need to follow. And I always try to say to people, it's not your fault if you're still striving and straining and struggling to get ahead. I mean, it's your responsibility. But what we were talking about is there's a lot of narratives out there. Like I put out a narrative last night just with a single post. Women should be leaders and men should be followers. I threw out a narrative. And there's all kinds of narratives floating around on social media and through any access to media, TV, streaming, whatever it is. We have a narrative, and we've bought into certain things, the way this world operates, how we operate, how our mind operates. And people talk about, I hear people online, they're talking about manifestation and law of attraction, and they talk about, achieving your goals. And there's a few things you got to get straight. But I just want you to know, this is a lot simpler than the world is making it. But you've picked up a bunch of stuff along the way that you are locked into. You have a set of beliefs that you're locked into. And I always just say, hey, if your life's not working out the way you want it to be working out, there's something wrong. There's nothing wrong with you. You're probably just doing some things wrong. Or you believe some things that are wrong. Very few people ever question what they believe. They always go, what the hell's wrong with me? They always turn on themselves. Not a good idea. Okay. All right. So let's get into this a little bit here. Okay. So the art of letting go, really the art of letting go is really, really simple. You just got to follow 5 simple rules. Okay. And we're going to talk a bit more in depth, but here they are. Number 1, you got to leave the past behind. Number 2, you got to stop worrying about the future. It's a waste of your energy. Number 3, you have to learn to live within the moment, within the now, within what I call 24-hour blocks, 24-hour living. You got to learn actually truly how to forgive. Very people actually understand the whole solution behind forgiveness. And you have to stop judging. Those are it. Those are the 5 rules. If you can adopt those 5 rules and just work on those 5 things and those 5 rules, you will be easily able to let it go. And I'll explain how these 5 things basically provide the basis or the foundation for you to stand on, where you can just relax and you can let go. And I'll bring this all together for you. So your freedom lies in letting go of what's bothering you. So let's take a look at some of the things that are bothering you. Think about what's bothering you. All right? I'm just going to give you a laundry list of most common things that bother people. Of course, a big one, if you're in the personal development space or you're online following, all these so-called gurus and stuff, you might not like your results. You might not be happy with your results. You're just not earning enough. You're too fat. I hear that all the time. Oh God, I don't like the way I look, right? Whatever your results are, you look at your results and you don't like them. And because you don't like them, you end up not liking yourself. And you criticize yourself. With results, this is really important. And you might want to write this down. You want to be results oriented, not results focused. Okay. Results focused means you're looking at the results, you're analyzing your results, you're complaining about your results, you're criticizing yourself or others about the results. That's result. You're focused on the result you don't want. You do not want to be results focused. Okay. You want to be results oriented. All right. So, like I said, the captain of the ship. All right. You're heading towards a port of call. By the way, you can only head to one port of call at a time. Okay. I don't know if you've ever been on a cruise or not. I was on a beautiful cruise on the Queen Mary 2. It was like being on the Titanic. It was amazing. Sailed out of New York, did a Caribbean cruise, and we stopped in 5 ports, one port at a time. Okay, you can't hit multiple ports at the same time. One port at a time, one goal at a time. So we want to be results oriented, meaning we want to be keeping our eye on where we're headed next, where we'd like to get to next. Now that ties into the idea of goals, which we'll talk about. You do want to have goals. You do want to be giving your mind some port of call to focus on, because your mind is a goal-seeking mechanism. And if you don't provide it with something you're pursuing, you're wandering all over the place. If any of you are feeling lost, it's probably because you're not really clear on where you're going. You might have some wishes and some wants, but you've not determined. You might wish to go on the Queen Mary 2 and sail on that beautiful ship, but you haven't decided. You haven't bought the ticket to get on the ship. So therefore, you're not really going anywhere. Okay. So you may not like your results. Become results oriented, not results focused. You probably worry about making mistakes. You're probably worrying about making mistakes. There's nothing wrong with making mistakes. The only way you actually get ahead and learn is by making mistakes. Now, when you were a little kid, you had no problem trying to ride a bicycle or a skateboard, or when you're really little, attempting to walk, right? Now you fell down and hurt yourself, and you might get hurt and cry and stuff like that. You didn't like that, but it did not stop you, all right? You had no issue with making mistakes because you wanted to learn, all right? So we got to change our mind around mistakes. Now, why do we worry about mistakes? Well, because what's it going to cost us, right? What's the cost? And if I'm thinking about doing something with my business, it's going to cost me a lot of money. And if I make this investment, it doesn't work out, then it's a mistake in my judgment of the investment that I made. But I'm not going to know unless I make a bet and see what happens. Okay. And so you can't be worrying about mistakes. Mistakes is how you learn. And all they are, your mistakes are just simply signs that you're on the wrong road or you're going the wrong way. All right. Meaning that your plan needs fixing. Okay. Your plan needs fixing. And so you don't sit around and, give up and, stick your head under the covers and go, I'm depressed. You just keep moving. If you're not results focused and you're results oriented, you just keep moving, making mistakes, course correcting along the way. And that's actually how your mind works properly, which we'll talk about. your freedom lies in letting go what bothers you. People bother you, right? People bother you. I caught myself today. I was in line for Starbucks this morning. I had to run out and get a coffee. And I was in line, and the car ahead of me I was in the line for like, I don't know, 6 or 7 minutes. And I was late. I had to get back for 8 o'clock. They had something to get on live with, and I'm in line. And I caught myself getting a little annoyed, because it was taking so long. And then finally, the person ahead of me, I guess they asked him to pull aside and let other people through because something was going on in the store or whatever. We got to catch ourselves, And I laughed at myself and said, Doug, just relax. I mean, you're not going to be late. If you're late, who cares? Who gives a shit if you're late? No big deal. So people bother you. Well, you got to stop. You got to stop judging, right? And you bother you. You bother you. And you got to stop judging. You got to stop judging yourself, and you got to stop judging others. It's just something you learned to do when you were little. It's a habit. It really works against you. The first chapter of my book is called "Stop Judging." If you just stop that, you just practice the art of not judging and get better at that and less than that, you will feel a lot better about yourself and your life. That's for sure. You got to let go of the idea that you can control the future. Okay. You can't. You cannot control the future. And so you've got to let that idea. Now, you want to remain in control for a number of reasons. Okay. So generally, the reason you're trying to hold on, literally, for dear life, like your fingernails are on the edge of the roof and you're holding on, you don't want to fall below. Okay. The reason you're doing that generally is because lack of trust. You might have some trust issues. Maybe you've been hurt. Maybe you've been burned. Maybe you're just way too cautious. You want to control things because you're afraid to, as I said, you're afraid to fail. You're worried about people you're gonna think, or you're worried about the implications of your failure, and so you try to just control everything you possibly can. But that's causing you a lot of stress. Okay, you're putting a lot of stress on your mind, your brain, and your body. Your mind directs your brain and nervous system. You got to get that straight. And so, if you're not operating your mind properly, and one of them is trying to control things, it's going to cause you stress. You got to let go of this idea of worrying about the future. All right. Worrying does not add a single day to your life. Okay. You're worrying way too much about things. And generally, those things aren't going to happen anyway. And then some of the things that are bothering you, you might not like how you feel or how you look. A lot of people have real issues with how they look. Now, listen, I've been around a long time. I get it. I know we've all been concerned about how we look and what our body looks like, and how we dress and all this stuff. And I think you should pay attention to that. I think you should take good care of yourself. But if you're trying to trade your body in for a different one than God made you in, you're going to cause yourself a lot of problems. I've got a surefire way to release weight fast. It's got nothing to do with diet or exercise. Now, all you people who have been struggling with diet, exercise, you're not going to like what I just said. But like I said at the beginning of the call, I just need you to open up your mind. You're locked into a narrative. You believe this is the way it has to be. Just speaking of narratives, I was talking to my naturopath the other day, and we were just doing a call. I wanted to get some insight on a couple things around my health, and we were talking about I was in for a medical appointment, just medical checkup, and I'm at that age, 60 years old. You gotta they gotta check certain things, etc. And I was talking about taking a particular prescription. He said, you don't need that. And he went on to talk about a narrative that he's very familiar with. He studied pharmacology in school, became a naturopath because of it. And there's a narrative around pharmaceuticals. And I mean, I spend my time in New York, half my time in New York, and man, oh man, they really push a lot of pharmaceuticals down your throat, literally through ads. That's a narrative. Okay, so we have all these narratives that we just are locked into, and we don't like how we feel. We don't like how we look. It bothers us. And so we got to take a look at the things that are bothering us. So just make a list. What's bothering me? Just really make a laundry list of that. And I'll come back to that in a minute. So life is a lot better when you're not stuck in the past and worrying about your future. Your success depends on you, and only you can take control of your life. All right. So if you want, something to improve in your life, if you want to stop creating problems, a lot of you, you're dealing with problems rather than getting to the root cause of your problems. Right. There's a better way to do this. If you get to the root cause of your problems, you won't have as many of them to deal with. But dealing with problems is difficult. Okay. Dealing with problems causes a lot of challenges for us. We don't want to be doing that. But you do need to take control, and you can take control. Now, your mind directs your thinking and operates as your built-in mental GPS. I just want you to imagine your mind as a GPS, like on your phone. Okay, you got a map on your phone, Google Maps or Apple Maps, whatever kind of phone you've got. You've got this GPS, right? Your mind operates much the same way as a GPS. Okay, and so you can take control of this built-in GPS, right? You can direct it and you can use it properly. Now, most of you now know how to use the maps on your phone. When they first came out, I didn't really trust them. I mean, they'd always send me in the wrong way, and I'd end up, going loop to loop. I was in an Uber yesterday going to the airport, and for some reason, Uber kept telling the driver to follow the map. It took me like 3 loops to get to the terminal. We kept going around and around and around. The Uber map was off track. I don't know what was going on with traffic or road closures near the airport, but we were definitely going the wrong direction. But these days, we pretty much trust these maps. And so your mind directs your thinking, and it operates just like the GPS on your phone, controlling where you go, how to get to your goals, and finding an easier route that makes you feel like a success. So we want to get back to this winning feeling. All right, there's a winning feeling that boosts your confidence. All right, you have these wins and these little successes, and so the best way to get that winning feeling, and to feel successful and to be successful, start operating your mind correctly. Okay, and operating under these guidelines in terms of how it works. And so your GPS, your job is to give it a target. You put in the address, and then you drive, and then it gives you the directions as you drive. And if there's a problem ahead, or there's traffic or whatever, or sometimes you get a suggestion, hey, you can save 6 minutes by going this way. It's built to find the easiest route to your target. Okay. Now, one of the mistakes that I was making, really in a big way, caused me a lot of stress. Probably most of my stress was caused by this big single mistake, and it was overthinking. Right. So your forebrain, it's really only used to identify problems. Okay. So I want you to think. If you're just imagine this built-in GPS, right? I want you to imagine you're driving now. You're on the highway, all right, and you're heading to a destination, whatever the goal is that you put into the map, and you're driving along, and everything's going along nice and smooth, and all of a sudden something happens. Okay, you start to smell rubber driving along, and that typically is a clue. Oftentimes, big truck trailers that have multiple tires on them, the rubber will burn off. You start to smell that smell, right? So you probably know there's probably a chance there's some rubber on the road, or potentially the tire could burn off the truck and come flying at the car. So you start to pay attention, right? So you're using your forebrain, right? And you're paying attention. You're using your senses, and you're paying attention, right? And then you see that tire on the road, right? Now you don't stop and pull out a spreadsheet and start, analyzing what you should do. You don't pull over the side of the road and think, what should I do? What's going to happen? And you don't overthink. You actually respond instantly in the moment. It's not your forebrain that gives you the solution. Okay. That's not where the solution comes from. Right. So one of the problems that I had is I was thinking, using my forebrain too much to solve my problems. Okay. Your forebrain is used to identify your problems, right? Not to actually solve those problems, right? So we're generally overthinking. And why do we overthink? Well, because we're worried about failing. We're worried about the implications of our mistakes. We're worried about people are going to think or how we're going to look or whatever. And so we can't be using our forebrain to solve our problems. It's only used to identify our problems. It's the job of your success mechanism to figure that out. All right. And so you have to let your success mechanism work. All right. It operates a certain way, and your job is to let it work and not jam it up with too much overthinking. So basically, you've got this machine. Okay. It's your mind. Your mind directs your brain and your nervous system. And if you're not if you're not operating it properly, you're not letting it work, you're going to put stress on the machine. Like all machines, they operate a certain way. And if you don't operate them properly, they burn out. You might be feeling burned out, right? You might think you're burned out because you're overworking. You might think you're burned out because of challenges and stress in your business or in your job. You might be burned. You got all these reasons why you think you're burned out. You're burning yourself out because of the way you're thinking. Most of your burnout is coming from the way that you're thinking. That's why we vacate, right? We go on vacations, we vacate our business, we vacate our life, we get away from it all, and we relax, right? And so we are causing most of our stress. Okay, so let's talk about these 5 rules. Free up your mind by following these 5 mindset rules, and this will help you avoid getting stuck. All right, number 1. Embrace now and leave the past. You've got to train your mind to live in the present. The past is just simply a history lesson. Okay. It's not a life sentence, right? Too many people are still living with reflection on the past. They look at the past, they think about the past, they talk about the past. Generally, it's because of negative association, negative emotions attached to the past. They live with guilt. They live with resentment. They live with shame. Primarily, if you're looking at the past, it's because of negative thoughts, feelings, and emotions. Right. So it's just a history lesson, right? And it's not a life sentence. And we don't want to use the past as a determination of our future. All right. Again, if you think of the driving analogy, you're driving along. You've been driving for a couple of hours. You're not looking backwards on the past. Okay. You're just driving. Now, when you were young and you were learning to drive and you were first, you finally got to a stage where you're now on the major highways, right? And you're probably a little nervous. You're probably a little scared, a little uncomfortable. You've never driven on a highway like this. And then, you smell the rubber, and you might see some debris on the road. You're going to be nervous and you're going to be uncomfortable. Okay. But you deal with it. You navigate around it, and you learn as you go. I'm 60 now. I don't worry too much about debris on the road. Okay. Because I know, and I don't have to look backwards on the past, how I used to deal with that. I know that in my memory and in my subconscious, I have everything I need to go forward. I don't have to bring up the past. I know that if there's anything in the past that I need to go forward, my mind will bring it up for me when I need it, if I need it. So I do not go and dredge up the past. You don't need to. So a big mistake people do is they dredge up the past, or they use the past to think and predict and consider their future. Not a good idea. All right. Number 2, future worries, waste of energy. All right. You got to remember 80% of what you fret about, what you worry about, actually never comes true. And if you don't believe me, just take a look at some of the things you're worried about. I'll guarantee you could take a little inventory and you would see that number is pretty accurate. For me, it was actually higher. I mean, that's the average based on research and studies have been done. Mine was higher. You can't add a day to your life by worrying. And what you got to do is focus your energy on what matters, and that's the present, right? So again, if you're driving along, when you guys are driving along, you might be on a road trip today. You're not worrying about if there's an accident 10 miles down the road. You're not worrying about what are you going to do if there's a road closure. You're not worrying about any of that. You're operating in the present moment, and that's the power. Number 3 is the power of 24-hour living. Okay. in a great book, a big book that was highly influential on my success and highly influential ultimately on finally letting go and freeing myself from all the crap in the past, was Psycho-Cybernetics. And in that book, he talks about a doctor, Dr. William Osler, who had this method of living in 24-hour blocks, neither looking backwards on the past with guilt or regret, and neither worrying about your future. And so Eckhart Tolle wrote a great book called The Power of Now. Okay, each day is a standalone adventure. Okay, no guilt from yesterday, no anxiety for tomorrow. Don't let anybody screw up your day. Okay, people, that's what people do. You wake up in the morning, and you're feeling pretty good, and you got some plans for the day. It's an adventure for just today. You might not have tomorrow. You only have today. And whatever your plan for today, it's planned for today. So you better just focus on today. And then some people like to screw it up. They like to complain and give you a hard time and say, you should be worried about this. And did you think about that? And all this stuff. Don't let people do that to you. Okay. Live one day at a time. So just make your mind if you're going to follow the rule. And you got to set up a rule or a guideline or a boundary or a fence for your mind. You go, nope. So something comes up. Nope. I only live in 24-hour blocks. If you're thinking about tomorrow or next week, nope. I only live in 20. And you got to catch yourself and you got to correct yourself. I'm telling you, if you just implement this policy, man, oh man, you will feel so much better. And number 4, forgiveness. Forgiveness equals freedom. Letting go means forgiving. Okay. Forgive and forget. It's not just a saying, right? True forgiveness is forgetting. That's the secret to moving forward. And you really got to get honest. Are there things from your past that you are holding against yourself or against others? Okay. If you have any guilt or shame, it means it's something in the past you're still punishing yourself for. If you have negative anger and resentment towards other people, it's because you're focusing on the past. Okay. Because how do I know that? Well, because those emotions are always attached to the past. All right. And so you've got to forgive. Now, how do you do that? Well, it's really simple. Number 1, you got to make the decision. You have to accept the idea. And if you don't want to accept what I'm telling you, you can spend years studying this. And one day you're going to come back, shit, Doug, you were right. I can't believe it. I read 20 books. I got a friend of mine, he's taking a psychology grad. Go, dude, you don't need to do that. Oh, no, I got to do that, And you can spend all this time. I remember reading Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles. He opens the book. He said, this book is not a treatise upon theories. Okay, it's not just a bunch of theories, he was saying. He said, I've spent my life, studying all the greats, and I put it together in this little green book, it was called. He said, so if you want, you can study Emerson and Schopenhauer and all these people if you want, or you can take my word for it because I've already done that and then try my way. And so I'm telling you, true forgiveness is forgetting. And if you can go, all right, I'm going to give this a shot. I'm going to let's see if, listen, you've got nothing to lose by seeing if I'm right. Okay. You have a lot of time to lose trying to figure out and prove that I'm wrong when I am right. Okay. So you decide which path you're going to take. But think about this. So your mind, you have what's called memory, right? And you have what's called imagination. And so if you are paying attention to the past, living in the past, thinking about the past, talking about the past, or somebody else brings it up and you go there with them, right? Your memory is going to bring back that event. It was interesting. I was driving along this morning to get my coffee, and I had a memory I haven't had. It's been blocked out for a long, long time. I couldn't pinpoint it, but I was listening to some classical music, and my memory took me to a place where I used to go. It was in a man's home where my father would get his hair cut. In fact, I'm now in the memories coming clear as I'm talking it out. It was on Ottawa Street, King and Ottawa Street in Kitchener, Ontario, Canada. So now the memory's coming back. And I was right there. I could see myself. I remember in that barber shop, the barber always played this kind of music. And the person hosting the show, they always have these radio guys on classical. They always have this voice, that classical radio show kind of voice. and it took me back. Instant memory recollection. Okay. So if you're looking in the past, your memory picks it up, right? And then your imagination plays back the scene, right? And even to a point where your senses kick in, you can even smell smells and hear sounds and see things. And if it was a negative experience, it's going to trigger those negative emotions. And of course, you're going to replay all that, and you're going to have a hard time forgiving. You're going to you think you say, "I let it go." And you didn't let it go because it's angering you again. There's parts in my book where people are surprised, even shocked. Some people are actually angry that I'm not angry with the men that sexually abuse me. They think I should be angry. In the shame chapter, I say I don't think these men that abuse me should be ashamed. They were guilty. They were convicted. They paid the price. Now, if they reoffended, they should be ashamed. Again, I don't know if they did. I couldn't find them. I tried to find them, but they shouldn't be ashamed. Right? Do not live in the past. So the key to forgetting, the key to forgiveness is forgetting. And so if you're not looking at the past, then you won't be remembering. Okay. And if it does come, I go, no, I forgive. I forgive. I forgive. You got to train your mind. You got to train yourself, to operate your mind properly. All right. Your conscious thinking is the control knob to the unconscious mind. All right. And the unconscious mind is where the memories reside, where the negative emotions reside. You got to take control. You're the captain of the ship. You're the navigator. You got to take control of your rational, logical mind and stop letting your unconscious mind run your life. And then, so the fifth one, the last one, is less judgment equals more joy. The less you judge, the lighter you feel. And just imagine a life where you're free from the weight of judgment. That's a lot better. Okay. So here's what happens with these 5 rules. Okay. Here's why letting go is so simple by following these 5 rules. Number one is you're not trying to control anything. Okay. You're trusting that your mind will navigate if you give it the target like your GPS. It works just like that. It was proven back in the 50s and 60s when they were building man-made brains, computers. Okay. Your mind, if you give it the directions, your mind will figure out how to get there and how to get around all the roadblocks and the obstacles. Your forebrain is used to identify the problem, but it's your unconscious mind is one that solves the problem and figures that out. Okay. Now we can talk about how you can actually tap into the minds of other people. You can actually tap in the mind of other people. You can tap into infinite mind, God, spirit, universe. You can tap into that as well. That's another lesson. But if you start to follow these rules and you just live in the present moment, you look backwards, you train yourself not to catch yourself not thinking about the future, wondering about the future, worrying about the future. You really just learn to live in these 24-hour blocks. And then if your memory does bring something up from the past or somebody else does, you just keep reminding them, nope, forgiveness is forgetting. I'm not going to operate with any negative emotions, and I'm not going to judge. And if you follow these rules, you calm down and you become more relaxed. You stop putting stress on your brain and your nervous system. So a lot of people that are struggling today with mental health problems, their mental well-being, they just don't feel good, anxiety, depression, all these diagnoses, turning to all these coping mechanisms, pills, therapy, all the negative coping mechanisms, porn and booze and cigarettes and vaping and all the things that you turn to just to cope with how you're feeling. You could take control of all of that if you take control of your thinking. And so if you're operating with these rules, you just calm down, you become more relaxed. And when you're calm and more relaxed, you're actually more clear. Okay. Now, the mechanism that solves your problems, okay, it's called your creative imagination. Okay. The way it works, it only works if you're in a positive vibration. Okay. And so we've got to take control of our thinking, and we've got to follow these rules So we calm down and relax and not stress out the brain and the nervous system, the body and the brain, okay? Not causing it stress by breaking these rules. And so then we're in a better vibration. So I always tell people, if you feel lousy, don't think. Seriously. If you feel like shit and you start using your forebrain, you're going to think shit up and you're going to come with some pretty shitty answers, right? I just tell people, if you feel like shit, don't think. I got a message from them the other day. It worked. I was feeling lousy and I just chose not to think. All right. Because if you feel lousy and then you use your forebrain and try to solve those problems, or you think about those problems, or you talk about those problems, or give those problems attention, you're not going to come up with very good solutions. And that's just going to stress you out more. Okay. And so we've got to relax the mind, right? We've got to trigger our creative imagination, and it will show you how to get there. You've got this built-in GPS. It will navigate for you, just like the map does as well. Your body will thank you in many, many ways, like better sleep, releasing weight. I have people that are just dropping weight without changing any behavior whatsoever because they're taking a weight off of their shoulders. You're carrying around a lot of weight. If you struggle like I did with adverse childhood experiences, you're probably carrying around a lot of weight, literally, physically and emotionally. I got a message from a friend. He said, I've dropped 40 pounds of physical weight and about 200 pounds of emotional weight, they said, right? And so you'll release weight, you'll sleep better, you'll have a hell of a lot more energy, and you can become a more confident person who makes things happen. You're the master of your fate. You are the captain of your soul. Invictus by Henley, great poem. You should read Invictus. If you don't know what that is, Google it. It's a great poem to read over and over and over. If we had time, I'd read it here. You are the master of your fate. You are the captain of your soul. Take the helm and choose your destiny. Right? But you're the navigator. All right. You don't have control over the seas or over Mother Nature. Right? You have control over the port of call, where you're going. You have control of the helm of your ship. You have control over your mind and how you operate it and how you direct it. And it directs your brain and nervous system. So you're in charge of how you think. You're in charge of how you feel. And you're in charge of letting go. You follow these rules, it's very, very easy to let go. Okay? Listen, if you need anybody to guide you, want any help, reach out to me. I do work with some people one-on-one. If you want to book a session with me and talk about that. But at the very least, if you haven't got my book, get my book and be sure to read it. It covers these 3 key principles. Get rid of your mistaken identity. Start operating your mind properly. Stop breaking the rules in terms of how it operates, and then just free yourself by being yourself so you can meet your true self, because that's a hell of a lot easier. Okay. Thank you for listening in. If you're here in the Zoom room, stick around. I'll do a bit of Q&A and conversation. If you're watching the live stream, there's a link just below the window there. Click on that and come on in the Zoom room. We'll leave the broadcast on for about 30 seconds or 60 seconds to give you a chance to come on into Zoom if you like. Love to chat with you. Come on in. Otherwise, Tyson, just stop the stream for me in about 30 seconds, and I will stick around here in Zoom. And I can take myself off this self view because it's bothering me. Don't like looking at myself so much, as handsome as I am. All right. Well, thanks for sticking around. Nice to see you folks. Tyson, are we done online? All good? Good. Thank you very much.
Yep.